Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. So, I want to do a story time today. Of course, I did a video about eugeniacooney's little comment on her live stream the other day where she's basically like, if you don't have proof, don't say nothing. Or that's just her opinion. You know, you shouldn't be mean and say anything about someone if you don't have proof. Anywho, I want to give you a story time about something that happened to me and why this has to do with that. So back when Facebook first came out, of course, everybody in the world, was sending you messages, whether you knew them or not. They were sending you friend requests and messages trying to get to know you because Facebook was that new thing that allowed everybody to contact each other. And it was new and fun, and you could talk to people from all over the place. It was amazing. You could see videos and pictures from places you'd never been and experience what other people were doing of things that you'd never done before. So back when Facebook first came out, this dude messaged me. We had mutual friends. We were from the same area. I didn't know this person personally, but we knew the same people. So we talked for a few months, and he's like, hey, come over, let's hang out. Come to my grandma's lake house, come hang out. We like all the same things. I'm single, you're single. Let's try to get to know each other. I tell him I don't want no kind of relationship. Don't need that. I was just coming out of a bad marriage. Didn't need any part of a relationship, but I would be friends. So we talked for about 4 or 5 months on the Facebook pages. We eventually exchanged numbers. We start texting because back then we had them old flip phones. So you had to mash the button like 5, 6 times to get one letter to come out. We texted like that for a couple months. So 7 months down the line, we've been talking as friends, but we hadn't met. Well, one day he's like, look, bring your friends, come over, hang out with me at my grandma's lake house. I'm like, well, I used to go to that lake when I was a kid. That would be fun. I used to fish there. I used to set cat hooks there. We used to have so much fun at that lake. I know exactly where you're talking about, and I did. And the house that he was saying his grandma owned, I had been at that bridge and jumped off that bridge hundreds of times when I was growing up. I knew the place very well. So decide one weekend, okay, I'll go hang out with you. He's like, we'll grill out, we'll just sit back, talk, have a good time. So I show up, and we begin talking about life and everything, and how things have changed, and how technology is getting so much bigger. And this was like, I think 2000, whatever year Facebook came out was the year it was. Because I remember Facebook was how we connected. And anywho, I go over there, I park my car, I get out, I walk up, and he's got this plethora of food and drink, and I'm like, this is amazing. Nobody's ever done this much for me before. It was really breathtaking because my own ex-husband hadn't even done nothing like this for me. Really, really nice gesture. And he would pull the chair out for me, and well, eventually after eating and stuff, I had to go use the bathroom. I brought my own Pepsi because I wasn't comfortable enough drinking anything from his house. And I didn't say that, but that was what I did because I wasn't comfortable. I'm never comfortable drinking anything from anyone else's home. So I have my Pepsi. I sit it on the table. He shows me where the bathroom is, shows me around the house. He's like, here's the bathroom. So he leaves. I lock the door. I use the restroom. Takes me about maybe a minute. I'm coming back out. He's sitting back at the table. So we sit down. We start eating the rest of our food. And I take a sip of my Pepsi. And within about 15 minutes, I start feeling groggy. And I say, well, you know what? I think I need to try to go ahead and head home because I don't feel good. Now, I didn't drink any alcohol because I knew I was driving. Now, in the Carolinas, in the summertime, now this was August. It was summertime anyways. But in the Carolinas, it doesn't get dark until like 9:30 in the evening when it's summertime. It's very late in the evening before it gets dark. So I'm like, look, I don't feel good. I'm going to have to go ahead and try to head home because I'm feeling sick. As soon as I stood up from that chair, I got real dizzy, and I was like, I think I'm going to throw up. And I started to head to the bathroom, and then I blacked out. I wake up, and I can hear water, like waves. My back is on fire. My back is burning so bad. From top to bottom, my back is on fire, like somebody's holding a cigarette to it, on fire. And that irritates me as I'm coming to. I come to, I see his face, I black out again. Do you know how terrifying it is to black out and wake up and black out again and not know if you're going to stay awake or if you're going to pass out again, and then you pass out again, you come back and forth to consciousness or reality, and the last time that I came to, I wake up and I feel his sweat off his face dripping on my nose, running down my nose, down my eyes. And it almost feels like I'm crying. And it's his sweat. And that kind of jolts me a little bit, that water hitting my face. And I'm like, I wake up and I realize he's right here. I'm like, what are you doing? He was like, well, you wanted to come out here and party. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I was sick. I was about to puke my guts out and then I passed out. What happened? And he kept saying, no, you wanted to come out here. You wanted to come out here and party and blah, blah, blah. Now, mind you, my panties are gone. My pants are pulled down. My pants leg is off one of my legs. Now, it took me so much to get into these pants because they are tight. The pants that I was wearing that day were tighter than these. Because, of course, I was a lot younger and I would wear very, tight style stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, how did he get these pants off of me? But that's why he only had one leg out, because they were hard to get off. They were very hard to get out of. I'm pushing and pushing, trying to get him off of me. And meanwhile, he's grabbing a hold of my throat and holding my head and my neck back. And like, not hard, but slightly choking me and telling me to look at him in his eyes, tell him I love him and all this shit. And I'm like, I don't know you. Why would no, get off of me. So I start trying to fight back. Whatever kind of date rape drug he used, because I know he did, because I didn't have any alcohol, I didn't take any drugs, I didn't take any medicines, I didn't do anything when this happened, and blacked out. I knew he drugged me, and because of this drug, I had no strength. Like, I could barely push my arms up, I could barely push any kind of pressure or force to get him up, and he was a kind of a heavy dude, like stocky, strong dude, and things just started coming together in my mind that I'm being raped. That's what happened. This is what's happening in this moment right now. I'm being raped. As I'm coming to more and more and more, I'm trying to fight him off, and the more he starts to choke me. And he's trying to subdue me, trying to keep me held down, trying to keep me from fighting so he can finish. Well, as I keep fighting, pushing, slapping, but every time I move, I lose strength. I lose function of my arms, and I almost black out. But my back is on fire, y'all. My back is burning so fucking bad that I'm crying at this point because I'm on fire. He's hurting me, holding me down. He's got one arm like this, one hand here, and the other arm like this, almost like army crawling and pushing weight down on my chest. And then every time he does this, I'll almost pass out. He lets up and continues raping me. When I started to come to the last time, I couldn't even fight. I was so drained of any strength, I just couldn't even fight. So I just laid there, and my back was burning so bad that I was crying. And he just kept saying, look at me and look at me and blah, blah, blah. And I wouldn't look at him. I just kept turning my head or turning my face. Finally he gets done, and he was able to finish. He was able to finish doing that to me. Pulling my damn hair out, grabbing a hold of my face, grabbing my arms, grabbing my hands, taking his hand like this, and squeezing the piss out of my skin on my thighs, my stomach, my back, with my back on fire like it was already, and just grabbing my skin and squeezing it like that, just hard as he could. I think to try to jolt me awake or something, I don't know, or he was into that shit. I don't know, but it left huge bruises all over me. So he finally gets done, he pulls me up, he snatches my pants up, and gets my leg in and pulls them up, and when he buttons and zips them, he pinches the skin on the front of my stomach right here. He pinches it so hard that it bruises. He walks me out to where the car is and trying to talk like lovey-dovey talk. I'm so glad you came here and blah, 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 and I knew we were going to have a good time, and I told you were going to have fun and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm still so groggy that I can barely walk, and I'm trying to get my mouth to work, but it won't work. I realize my mouth is burning, my back is burning, parts of my body are on fire. Once I get up to the house, he gets me to my car. I can't find my car keys. He's like, well, I guess you'll just have to stay the night. I'm like, I'm not staying the fucking night. I'll start running and screaming, give me my keys. He's like, no, you can come stay the night and come sleep in the bedroom with me. I said, give me my keys right now. I'm going to start screaming right now. Because we were on, where my car was on the street. We had walked from his pier. Pier was on the water. That's where I was hearing the water from. And we had walked down the stairs from the second story of the pier, across the pier, out to the road where my car was. And then couldn't open the doors because my keys weren't in my pocket. I didn't have my purse, my flip phone, my keys, nothing. He had all of it. He kept trying to say because I didn't have it, I'd have to stay the night. I'm like, no, I'll start screaming, go get my shit. He takes off, he comes back, he has my phone, my purse, my wallet. He has everything from my bag that I brought with me, including my drink. I get in the car, and when I sit down, it hurts so bad to sit down between the rape and the back pain that I was having. You ever seen that stuff that people put down on their porch and their doorstep? It's green. It looks like green carpet, but it looks like grass. It's to help you so you don't slide down when it's raining or icy outside. People put it on their piers, so when you get wet, you don't slide down on it. It's like a no grip, but it's green plasticky type carpet. Really rough texture. Well, he had that on that pier. That's what burned my back up, was carpet burn. He raped me so hard on that green flooring stuff, no slip grip stuff. The carpet burn from my back, rubbing it raw, my skin, just rubbed it like this. I had carpet burn from my shoulders, the back of my neck to my shoulders, down my butt, my thighs, my elbows, my knees, the back of my neck. But my shoulder blades and my lower back were the worst. I had burn marks that long, this big around, all down my shoulder blades. When I went to the doctor, and when that finally scabbed up, there was scabs coming off my back this long, over 7-8 inches long, that they were taking off, with that green stuff in it. He had raped me so hard on that green stuff that the plasticky stuff had actually came off and rubbed into my skin, along with little rocks and dirt and stuff off the deck. So he brings my keys, and I get in the car, and he says, you shouldn't drive like this, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, give me my fucking keys. So I'm already all to hell, shaking, trying to come to. I get in my car. I can barely walk. I crank it up. I almost hit the ditch backing out of the driveway. I get down the road, and I pull over to where people can come and sit on a bench and feed the alligators and fish. I park there, and I think to myself, I've just been attacked. I've just been raped and attacked, and I don't even know the damages to my body yet. So I go to the hospital. When I get into the ER, I'm so dirty, feeling ashamed. Even though I was single, I wasn't cheating on anyone, I wasn't doing anything wrong. I just went to see who I thought was a friend and ended up being attacked. And when I get in this ER, when I tell this nurse, she's like, what's your emergency? I said, I've been raped. She says, you sure? And I just stand there for a minute and I have to think, am I sure? Because I did willingly go over there. We did talk for months. Did I lead him on? Did I cause this? You know? What? But then I start to think, wait a minute. I was drinking Pepsi. He was having drinks. I never drunk any of his alcohol, any of his drink. He had to have drugged me. He had to have. Or did I pass out from low sugar? Either way, it's rape. And I start to tell her, and she's like, well, just save it, and when the triage nurse comes out, you can tell them the whole story. I'm like, what a bitch. But okay, what a bitch. But that's how they treat you. That's how they used to treat you. I get back there to the triage, and they start, asking me, are you sure this happened? Because you're very groggy. Are you sure you didn't dream it? I'm like, look at my back. Look at my neck. And by this point, I've already waited for like 4 hours in the waiting room. So, of course, the bruising has come up really dark. The blood spots around my neck, the hickeys. He had put hickeys all over my neck. It was disgusting looking. It wasn't like those little cute hickeys you see. No, it was huge, gaudy-ass, nasty-ass hickeys all down my neck, my breast, my rib cage. They were everywhere. They were on my thighs. This dude drugged me and then sucked on my body like a leech and bit me. And there's no telling what else, because I only know about some. They start to do the exam, and they have to check you in places that you don't want to be checked. And of course, they had to check me anally. They had to check me vaginally. And when they checked me anally, she said, "Have you had any anal sex recently?" And I said, "No, ma'am. I've not had any sex recently up until what happened tonight. I hadn't done anything." And she's like, "Wherever you were, whatever had happened, I can't say somebody did it to you, but whatever happened anally too." And I had a tear. My anus was torn. He sodomized me or raped me. Either way, he tore my anus. And I'm just sitting there thinking, luckily I was passed out for that, because there's no telling. I mean, vaginally, I had 2 tears. There is no way to explain how, when you go and you get a rape kit done and somebody tells you that you have been torn, and they tell you that you have been violated in ways that... And you know what hurts more? While I know it happened to me, it terrifies me when I hear about stories about these people raping children. I was an adult when this happened, and it tore me down, it broke me apart, it ruined my life. But to know this happens to children, I don't know how people can do things like this. And every time she would tell me something else, I would think to myself, I was molested as a child, and all those flashbacks would come back. And then I would just keep thinking about how I always hear these stories about these little kids being raped by adults and how they get torn. And now that's happened to me, and as bad as it hurts, I can't imagine how bad it hurts for a child. And I just kept thinking, like, it's so bad, but I'm so lucky to be alive, because what if he had just pushed me off the pier and let me drown? What if he'd knocked me in the head? So many things he could have done to me. I had cut marks, but the carpet burn, I could not sleep on my back, my side, or my stomach. I had to sit up and partially lay sideways like this in a recliner, because my butt all back here had rug burn, carpet burn, up my back, my shoulder blades. I've still got scars from these huge scabs, deep wounds on my back from this. People just don't realize predators and aggressors, predators, they don't realize what they do to their victim when they do these things. Because when I finally got done at the hospital, and the way these people looked at me, like they didn't believe me to begin with, because, as Eugenia says, I didn't have any proof. I named him, but guess what? I didn't have his real name. I had a fake name. That's what he gave me. So I go back on Facebook to try to find him, and his account's gone. It's wiped out. All of our messages are there, but there's no name, there's no picture, there's no proof. He didn't have that phone number on anymore. It was gone. Every bit of it was gone. I go to the police department a couple days later, and I tell them everything that happened. And you know what they tell me? "But you willingly went over there." Yeah, I went over there, like, during the day. I wake up at night, and I'm being raped. But you went over there. So you mean to tell me I can't visit a friend without being asked to be raped? So you mean to say that I'm asking to be raped because I visited a friend? So I go to a barbecue, and that means I want to be raped. That's how they made me feel. All they kept saying was, "So you went over there. You drove over there yourself, by yourself?" We had the same mutual friend. We had talked for months. We even talked on the phone, verbally. We had spoken. This was just supposed to be our meetup. And where the house was, it wasn't by itself. There was neighbors. Literally, the houses are like 4 or 5 feet apart. Maybe 5, 6 feet apart. They are like, literally, you can see into each other's windows. These lake houses are stacked, as most lake houses are. And we were on the pier. He had took me to the pier, up high on the 2nd story of that fucking pier, to rape me. And I don't know if that's so no evidence would be in the house. I don't know what the reason was, but all I do know is he raped me so hard on that green no-slip grip stuff that no-slip guard green shit, that it was embedded in my back skin, in the blood, in the dirt and the rocks and the grime, and that nurse sat there with a pair of fucking tweezers and picked little pieces of green shards, green rocks, and pieces of sand, and just gritty shit out of my back skin for a fucking hour. And they treat me like I'm some kind of whore. Like I asked for it. And of course, every sheriff deputy you talk to, no offense, guys, but everyone that I talked to was a guy. So they just look at me like some kind of whore. And then finally, a female sheriff deputy walks in. But she's so, like, hard up, she doesn't even care. She's like, you went over there by yourself? I said, so, you mean to tell me in this day and age you can't visit somebody without being raped? That's what you're telling me. I mean, that just don't make no sense. I really hope that the hospitals and sheriff's departments have changed nowadays from what they were then. And this is why victims don't want to come forward. I'm getting to this part now. So the next day I go back to the sheriff's department, and I've already done one statement and got my hospital record, gave it to them. They've gotten like the rape kit and everything. And the sheriff deputy, I'm telling him the story. This is a detective, actually, a new person. And he sits down and he actually listens and writes everything down. And he's like, we've had several people be raped in that area. I'm curious if it's the same person. Can you show me the house? So I tell him on a piece of paper where the house is. He doesn't tell me if it's the same one as other people. About a week goes by, and I see this person on the internet again, and I start messaging him. What's up? I try to be nice because I want to lure out what he did to me. And he doesn't want to say it. All he keeps saying is, you want to meet up again, blah, 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 or did you have fun? He never says what he did until eventually, later on, he does. I tell the sheriff detective, I'm like, I don't have any kind of proof except that I know where the house is. I went to the house. I can tell you where the bathroom is. He says, yeah, but you could have been there before. And that's true. I could have been there before, He didn't know if I was lying or not. But the sheriff deputy told me something. The detective told me something that makes so much sense. You have to speak out. You have to speak out. Because guess what happened? A week later, another girl, younger than me, was raped a couple houses down by the same person. And he was caught. You know why he was caught? Because I went and I made my statement and I shed light on the situation. Because I brought that attention to that area. If I hadn't have said anything, what if the next person hadn't said anything? He would have kept going and kept going. But because I came and I dealt with all the trauma from the nurse and the doctors and the sheriff deputies and everybody who did not believe me, I took that trauma and that shame and embarrassment. It caused the sheriff's deputies and the police to watch that area. And guess what happened? Several days later, they hear a girl come running out screaming as a patrol car is coming through the area. She runs almost directly into the patrol car, and it was an undercover car, actually. And when he opens the door, he said, ma'am, are you okay? What's going on? He looks at her. She's not even 18 years old, probably. Not even that, maybe. He says, what happened? She can't even hardly speak. Her mouth is like paralyzed. He's telling her, slow down, calm down. He gets her in the car. They start to head down the road. He sees a guy come running out in his shorts. The guy said, oh, that's my girlfriend. She got a little too drunk, blah, blah, blah. He starts giving him a half-assed lie of a story. And the deputy just has some kind of a feeling, just a little bit of a gut feeling, this is our dude. Something's up with this. This don't make no sense. Why would she be running? She can barely walk. She looks drunk or intoxicated. They take them both to the sheriff's department, and they start questioning both of them. The girl keeps nodding out so much to the point that they know something's wrong with her. They ask the guy, what does she took? What does she drink? He says, I don't know. I think she tried to kill herself. He lies and lies and lies. The sheriff's department says, what happened? The girl, when she finally comes to, she says, all I know is that he gave me a drink, and when I drank about maybe that much of it, I blacked out. Gone. Next thing I knew, I woke up, and I was in the back side of that house in an old shed-type building, a couple houses down from where I was. There was only a one-story pier at that house. Apparently, he couldn't get back to the house that had the two-story pier because those people either had came home, something had happened, or he just didn't want to go back to the same scene. I don't know. But he had took her to like a shed that was behind a house in the edge of a wood area. This girl said that when she came to, she was being bent over like a workshop table, and that he had entered her anally, and that he had something else sodomizing her with it. This girl had never even had sex before. This is what her first time has to be. I feel like if police had have believed me to begin with, and they would have went, I was telling them where the house was, I was telling them where everything, and they would not go. They would not go investigate. They wouldn't even go get a statement. They wouldn't even go see who owned the house. All they kept telling me was, there's nothing we can do. It's hearsay. There's nothing we can do because you don't know his name. There's nothing we can do because this. I'm like, I know where the house is. I know what kind of car he drives. There's fingerprints. We don't do stuff like that. We don't actually do fingerprints here. Just like when my house got broke into. I said, aren't y'all going to take fingerprints? Check the door? Anything? No, we don't actually do that. Then why do you have a fingerprint database then if you don't check for fingerprints and footprints? They're lazy. They wouldn't give me the girl's name, but thanks to Facebook being like it was, when it just, like I said, it just came out prior to what happened to me several months, she went on her Facebook, and her family, they were on a witch hunt for this dude. And let me tell you, everybody was looking. And I was one of the main ones who had a good look at his face. And I was a little bit older, so I could remember. I'm so glad that she was able to get away from him and run out into the road like she did. And I'm so thankful that the sheriff deputy picked both of them up, and not just her. But me and her, during that time, we started a Facebook group for survivors and victims of sexual assault and domestic violence who are scared or fearful or feel ashamed. And you should never feel ashamed or embarrassed, ever. Don't let them make you feel that way. It's not your fault. Don't never let the predator make you feel like that. And if the police or the hospital treats you that way, report it. Blast them. So we made a group for people like us who had been shamed in the hospital and shamed in the police department, sheriff's department. And we had so much support. Over the years, that group, it went away, but this girl was almost not even 18 years old when he did this to her. And do you know, he didn't get no time at all? Because where we lived, it wasn't illegal. They claimed we couldn't prove it was rape, even though we tested positive for what the hospital said was the date rape drug. But guess what? The sheriff's department didn't have proper equipment to test for anything or check nothing. All they had was regular drug tests. They couldn't even test for drugs like Suboxone or methadone at that time. They didn't even know how to. Most of them didn't even know properly how to fingerprint. The police departments in the Carolinas, North and South Carolina, are horrible for contaminating crime scenes because they don't have proper training. When something like a crime, like a murder happens, they'll walk all through the house, they'll pick up stuff, they'll move stuff around, they'll let people go back in and move stuff around. They'll let the families go back in and move shit around. They're not trained properly. But back to that, me and her, I ended up seeing her post because, of course, when she posted about being raped, it spread like wildfire on Facebook back during that time because that was huge. And I ended up seeing the post because we were about 20 minutes apart. He had found me because he was from our town too, and I'm about to get to that. He had found her in Myrtle Beach. He had actually found her on Facebook. She was in Myrtle Beach, but they had actually met one time before he did this to her. And she still didn't have his real name or nothing, no knowledge about him. So they let him go. Nothing happens because they say nobody can prove anything. And when this happened, I couldn't prove it was him because they weren't even at the same house. And they wouldn't even take no DNA. They claimed they couldn't take no DNA from him. It's fucked up, I know. It really is. How do you think I feel and how she felt and whoever else he hurt? Because I'm sure there was more. So, about 3 years later, well, actually about 2 years later, I meet a really, really nice guy at the store, and we start talking, we become good friends, and this person becomes one of my best friends. Okay? Me and Gavin are hanging out. You know, we always play Xbox together. We end up getting like this, like brother and sister, nothing ever sexual. Yes, men and women can be friends without being sexual. Believe that or not. So, we're hanging out one evening, and he's looking on his Facebook page, and he's like, yeah, I went to school with this person, that person, this person's a dick, this person, that person's weird. And he scrolls past a picture on his friends list, and I recognize it. And it's the guy. It's the guy that raped me. As Gavin is scrolling through, I stop him and I say, whoa, how do you know this person? How the fuck do you know this person, Gavin? How do you know him? He says, oh, well, we were in the same grade from kindergarten up to when we graduated. His family's rich. His daddy's a pilot at the airport. His mama is like, works for the bank. His stepdaddy, you know, works like big deal in the bank. And all this stuff. I'm like, are you serious? And they live in a big mansion. They have lake houses. His grandma has a lake house. I'm like, that's him. I can see the eyes still in my head. That's him. And I get his name. Then I look him up on Facebook. Then I send him, I make a fake page and I send him a friend request, and I put like a picture of somebody else that I knew. Like Gavin's sister. We asked her and she let us use her picture, and I start talking to him. And I start getting information. And I was so scared because all I can think back is to the trauma and the fear and him choking me out and doing these horrible things. And I just keep... I wanted to hurt him so bad. And I just wanted to hurt him like he hurt me. I just wanted to fucking hurt him. But I had to play it cool. And Gavin was like, don't do nothing crazy now. Don't do nothing crazy. And I said, I'm not. I just want to know why. And has he been caught? And is he married? Does he have kids? Is he putting other people in danger? Like, what the deal is? So I just creep his Facebook for a while, and I keep watching him. And then I see, like, another girl that I'm friends with who is actually dating Gavin at the time. She's like, I know that dude. Because she seen me creeping his page one day. Of course, I did it in front of Gavin. He was my best friend. And so she walks up and she's like, I know that piece of shit. I said, really, you do? She's like, yeah, he sexually assaulted me when I was 13. I'm like, exactly. Finally, somebody... So I contact the other girl and I tell her, we'll call her Lindsay. I contact Lindsay and I tell Lindsay what Gavin's girlfriend just told me. And she's like, you have someone else? I'm like, yes, a third person. And she says that she was 13 from when she was like 12 to 15 years old. He sexually assaulted her. He took her virginity. All this stuff. And we're blown away. We go to the sheriff's department. They can't do anything. They say there's no proof. There's no this, no that. So this person is still... They're still out there. And they use fake names. They never have the real name on Facebook. It's always by their picture when I see it. And it... Or like code names or aliases or whatever. And this person took off and disappeared for a while because we were hounding them on Facebook. We were warning everybody. Yes, I know I could have been sued for slander, but I was warning everybody, stay away from that person. He is dangerous. And I mean, but see, when eugeniacooney says, well, if you don't have proof, you shouldn't say nothing. Let me tell you something. No, I don't believe in ruining anyone's life or career, but when I know that you did something to me, but I have no physical proof, I'm going to tell someone, because that can prevent you from hurting anyone else, possibly. At least if I can warn other women, other men, they won't have nothing to do with you, possibly, and hopefully save them from being hurt. But if I don't say anything at all, if I just keep my mouth shut, zip, then you're going to continue to hurt people. But at least I tried. Yes, I know there are some people out here that just tell outright lies on men and women every day, and they make up stuff. But there's also people who are not telling lies. who are telling the truth. And there's a lot of people who's too scared to come forward to say anything because they don't want to be shamed. They don't want to be embarrassed. They're scared they're going to get hurt. They're in fear. They're terrified of what's going to happen to them. They're terrified that the predator's going to retaliate on them. You know, just like when I was little, I was molested, and this predator kept telling me, if you say anything, I'll tell your parents, and you'll be the one to get in trouble, not me. You're not supposed to be doing this. And this person would turn it around on me getting in trouble over and over and over. And I believed it. And that's what happens with victims. They're so scared that they're going to get attacked online, attacked in person, just like with these celebrities and these YouTube influencers who are hurting their fans. The victims are scared to come forward because they know the stands are going to attack them. They're going to stalk their life, and they're going to make their life a living hell. So they're scared to come out and say anything against a celebrity like Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, Dahvie Vanity. Look what happened to Jesse, Damien, when she said something about Dahvie Vanity. When she didn't say anything and the friend said something, everybody attacked Damien. Even though Damien didn't even come out and say, well, he did this or that, the friend said it. And every one of Dahvie's stands attacked Damien instead of him. And just like with Eugenia saying that, I understand a lot of y'all say, well, because of ED, she isn't mentally able to think and this and that. If she's that bad off, then she doesn't need to be on this platform giving out advice, y'all. But let me tell you something. We can all make excuses up for Eugenia, but the excuses have run low. Very low. This girl is still using an active debit card. She is still using motor vehicles. She is on the internet giving a young audience of all ages, all this horrible advice. She is hurting herself on the internet daily, and these platforms do nothing about it. And then when she does something bad, y'all want to make excuses for her. No, I'm not accepting that. I'm not accepting that, because she's crossed the line at this point. Don't you dare tell people, shh, don't say nothing if you don't have proof, because you don't want to seem like a mean person. No, Eugenia, we're not all like you. We're not going to sit here and let these predators run all over the place and hurt other people so we don't look like a mean person. No, I'm going to tell. If you do something to me or someone I love, I'm going to tell so I can stop you from hurting anyone else. You don't never tell victims, shh, you don't have no proof. Bill Cosby, his victims didn't have no proof. Harvey Weinstein's victims didn't have no proof. Now, if Harvey Weinstein's victims kept their mouth shut, he would still be out here right now, raping women. If Bill Cosby's victims kept their mouth shut, zip, he would still been out here. Never got caught for drugging and raping women. Dahvie Vanity. When these girls, when people started coming out naming Dahvie Vanity, when the first person, not back then, when Damien's friend had named Damien, and then everybody started attacking Damien, but later on, when this person named Dahvie, you know what happened? Another person named Dahvie, and then another person named Dahvie, and then another, and another, and another. And it's because of the people like us who come out and we tell the truth. Again, I know there's people who don't tell the truth, but because of the people like us who do, without proof, we have no damn proof at all, but we did come out and we told the truth, now people are going to watch Dahvie. Now people aren't going to trust Dahvie, and they're not just going to fly off with him or, you know, be sending him nudes or trusting him the way people used to. Because someone spoke out. But if nobody ever spoke out because they didn't have proof, tons of predators would never get caught. Does that make sense what I'm saying? You don't have to have proof to stop someone. Or at least you don't have to have proof to warn people. Look at how many women have been saved since Ashley Damien and all these other girls have spoken out about their experiences with Dobby. Now there are tons of people who are not going to go with Dobby. They're not going to meet up with Dobby. They're not going to be texting Dobby. They're not going to be trying to go to Dobby shows because hey, no, don't talk to that guy. No, look. And then we see, here's their experiences. Don't go with that dude. And even some of the women who knew about Damien's experience, even though they knew about Damien's experience and they still trusted Dobby, and then it happened to them, they come out and they said it happened to me too. They're not lying. It happened to me too, and he is a dangerous person. And we have to understand that and believe them and take their word and don't go around him because he is not a safe person. But if you listen to Eugenia, and that's what annoys me, she's going to sit here and get on the actual whole ass internet and tell people, possible victims, shh, unless you have proof, shh, that's how I feel. I wouldn't say anything unless I had proof. I don't feel like people should say anything unless they have proof. So you mean to tell me, Eugenia, you mean to tell me your 8-year-old daughter gets raped by your uncle, and you have no proof except for your daughter telling you, Mommy, Uncle Chester raped me, or Uncle Chester touched my hoo-ha, Uncle Chester kissed my private place, and you're not going to say shit because you don't have proof? Bullshit. I don't buy it, Eugenia. I don't buy it for a fucking second. I don't buy it. Because I think, and I pray you would say something, because if you would not say anything, that'd make you a bad parent. A horrible parent. I mean, that's why I say if some people just don't deserve this platform. Some people really don't. Because some things that they say can be very dangerous to their audience of all ages. I'm sorry, but I cannot see if Eugenia Cooney, if her mother was attacked on the street and her mother walked in the house and says, Eugenia, I was just attacked by that man right there. He just attacked me, but I have no proof. They're not going to say nothing? Yeah, right. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a minute. You're going to say something. You're going to go to the hospital and the police department. You're going to say something. It just burns me up that she tries to put on this show, this little bullshit show that she does. It really annoys me. Let me grab my phone right here. Okay. Influencers like Eugenia, who have a huge platform, really need to take more responsibility in what they're saying and doing. Because of people like me, what she said offended the fuck out of me. How dare you? Yes, you can have your opinion, but for you to be such a big YouTuber and Twitch girl and have such a huge platform and so many millions of fans, for you to sit, you know what you say is how these people are going to be influenced. You're the influencer, they're the influencee. You know what you say on that platform is what most of your fans are going to go by. And when you tell them, I would just, unless I had proof, that's telling so many victims, don't say nothing unless you have proof, y'all. That's how I feel anyways, and you look up to me, so. That is so irresponsible as a creator, as an influencer. Yeah, I'm saying it. It ain't like it's not like I got millions of fans to lose or anything. Hell, either way I'm gonna say it. Because it's how I feel. All these big influencers on YouTube, Twitch, and all these platforms, they can speak, their opinions, even on TikTok. They can talk about whatever they want, but then one of us little influencers, we say something, oh, they got a big ass problem with it. Because we're saying something, we're not agreeing with them. And no, I don't agree with Eugenia. Guys, listen to me. If something has happened to you, tell somebody. If you know who did it, tell somebody. You do not have to live with that burden. You are not expected to live with that burden ever. I'm going to end this video here. And with this last word, I'm here for you. Everyone, I'm here for you. I am not that person who's going to make up excuses for anyone. I'm not going to sit here and make up excuses for Eugenia and her comment. Because I look at it like this. people keep saying, yeah, but because of her ED, she's not mentally able to be able to see things clearly and this and that. Y'all can't keep using that excuse. She's running a full-time business on Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, all the apps that she's on. She is running a full-time company, making money from the stuff that she's spewing out to her fans and her audience. Not just her fans, but her entire audience that her videos are even suggested to. These people are influenced by her words. Now, if she's just not if she's not going to be held accountable for what she's doing and saying, maybe she shouldn't have a platform. Because I have to be held accountable. You have to be held accountable. We all have to be held accountable. And if we are not able to be responsible and set good examples, just like Mini Lad, Dobby Vanity, Onision, and the rest, if you can't set a good example, then you shouldn't be on this platform or any other platform, making money or not. That's just my opinion. Anyways, I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one.